And here we go. Welcome. Game 3, the deciding game in this round of 8 match in Winter Series 2 between Beastyqt and Vortix. The winner of this will make it through to the Final Four being played tomorrow. Spawning the west of the map in blue, we have Vortix playing as the French, considered the meta civilization perhaps on this map. Now, French was available for his opponent, who, playing on the east of the map in the color red, is Beastyqt, playing as the Holy Roman Empire, also considered to be another strong civilization on water on Boulder Bay. Now, this is just absolutely fascinating that Vortix has chosen this as his home map. Looks gladly like we've got a pretty fair distribution of deep sea fish, which is absolutely essential. Lidakor, talk to me. What do you think about this one?
My first thought was that Beastie is going a little crazy over here with the whole Roman Empire pick. Now, let's make no mistake. He also has the French available for him. He also has the Rus available because his opponent, Vortix, has banned the Delhi. So, at this point, he could have gone for Rus. He could have gone for French. He decided to go for HRE. So, I expect him to have some sort of epic game plan over here, otherwise this might be a massive failure, because the Hawks could make a quick work with his galleys in Feudal Age. The start is pretty decent here for him though, because it looks like he is delaying that dock for the time being, and on the other side, the dock at least goes up for Beastie. He might lose the villager though, if he's not cautious.
Now, the assumption surely has to be here. Vortix must have assumed when he was picking this that he was about to play a French mirror. He must have assumed with French available for Beastie that this was going to be that, and he was backing. I see why Vortix has done this, because he's just backed himself out execute his opponent in a French mirror, which is a very, very APM heavy matchup on Boulder Bay when you're trying to deal with the Hulks at the same time as your economy and everything else. But is not what's happened. So I agree with you that Beastie's got something very curious in mind. Looks like this village is going to go down, which is... How many hit points does that villager have left? Oof.
Yep.
One more hit.
Yep.
You're going to block it? No, the villager's going to go down, which is quite significant in them. As we've said many times before in a mirror matchup, these little things are very important. That's a little chink in the armor of Vortix, and Beastie will retire from that little engagement quite happy.
Now notice that one of the things that Beast did is add a second scout. This is pretty common on Boulder Bay with any civilization, simply because you want to snipe that villager at the beginning, potentially even deny the dock, start burning it down, as this fishing ship had a bit of a seizure over here. Now, one thing that Beastie could do, although it's a little risky, is try to go for a fast castle approach. With the Holy Roman Empire, you have a very powerful economy with the prelates, the Aachen Chapel, plus the fishing eco, and if you get to fast castle, before your opponent destroys your docks, you can get your own hulks out. So that's an option for Beastie. Obviously, that's going to be difficult to pull off, but that's always an option. It looks like we might have one scout going down over here from Vortix. Very nice move from Beastie to isolate those two, and indeed, that is...
Really close. It manages to escape somehow. Oh, he's coming back in. I don't know why, because he's just gonna lose it.
I think...
all four of those scouts, so everything's low HP. Oh, one more hit on that scout and he goes down. Oh, wow, very close engagement. Now, one thing that I, as a TO, always apply a huge sigh of relief on is when we see Boulder Bay with a reasonably fair RNG Lidakor. Now, this is a map that can cause huge problems. But taking a look right here, deep sea fish for both players, maybe a little bit better for Vortix, but not significantly so. Both players with access to the market. It's not always you get a fair spawn on this map, but it looks like they're at least going to get a fair match 3 here.
Vortix having a quite exposed gold mine over here, obviously something that can hurt. And as things stand, we have a much faster Feudal Age coming in here from Beast. He's already rushing that Aachen Chapel up with 4 vills, whereas on the other side, no sign of Feudal Age just yet for Vortix. Looking at his resource bank, his dock was delayed, and let's not underestimate the importance of that. That 15-20 seconds of delay, plus the travel distance being a tiny bit bigger compared to the one that Beastie has to cover, combines to have a slightly slower feudal age time for Vortix, and those are precious seconds lost here for Vortix, because, as I said, if Beastyqt tries to go for some sort of fast castle style play, then Vortix needs to destroy those docks before his opponent gets to castle age. It looks like we lost Pesti over here for a brief moment, so hold on.
Oh, sorry, I accidentally lent on my mute button because that's the quality of casting on this side of the mic. What I was saying before I cut myself off, Lidakor, was that I quite fancy Beastie's chances here. And the reason, in a straight matchup, especially a mirror, Vortix looks fantastic. Definitely got a higher APM, or the moment a better game knowledge of AoE 4. But Beastie has these really smart strategies that he's approaching the game with, and he's obviously just has something in mind here. And when he approaches the games with these, as we saw in the last game, he just looks so strong.
A bit of an issue over here for Beastie. As you see, he ran out of sheep beneath his town center, so he had some idle time over there. Once again, those are precious seconds lost as Vortix continues to harass these villagers. Would expect Beastie to pull his own scout to fight that off. As you see, Vortix is just up to feudal age. Here come the Hawks from double docks. Whereas for Beastie is walling off this corner. That's a clever thing to do for multiple reasons. A, Beastie did not scout what landmark Vortix aged up with, and it's always possible that Vortix ages up with the School of Cavalry and just sends in 2 knights to attack. It's more likely that you're going to see the Chamber of Commerce and Vortix just selling his food for food and gold. But ultimately, it gives you some safety to make these walls, and what's more important is that it secures 4 relics for you. 3 in this corner and 1 on your side. So if you have those walls up, you're almost guaranteed to have 4 relics for Ragni's Cathedral, and it obviously helps a ton. Beastie moving in with his first galley right now, but that's just going to be repelled by Hawks quite easily. Or he could just hide that. And if he does so... Oh yeah, Vortix knows. Vortix knows exactly that that's a place where Beastie's probably waiting for him to leave and then jump on his fish. That's 300 IQ from both players. Beastie knew exactly that when the Hawks move out, he's gonna have a window to jump on the fish. And Vortix was aware that his opponent will try to hide an otherwise inferior galley in that mist and just try to jump on the fish when the Hawks leave.
Really, really smart play from both. And wow, what a job Vortix did discovering that. That could have been really, really big move if he'd not. Now, the Hulk's potentially going to come in and start harassing, and it is going to come in and start harassing these fishing boats. And that is very annoying. Going to cause Beastie to have to use some of his APM and bringing these fishing boats back, but he's not doing that. He did lose the couple there. That was very big. So he lost 2 fishing boats immediately before they were going to bring back their food. So those weren't just fishing boats. Those were fishing boats with like 30 food in each. So really big moment. And Beastie better be careful. He's going to have to work out a way very, very quickly to defend his fishing eco. I don't think he wants to lose that at this point, especially just to 1 Hulk.
I don't think he has an option at this point. He's aging up to Castle Age, so indeed it's a fast castle style play. He's gonna go for relics. As I said, the biggest question when it comes to fast castle play with the Holy Roman Empire is, can you keep your docks alive long enough to have a chance to pop out your own Hawks? And so far the answer for Beastie is no. Now, he can add some new docks on the north and just go for a redock. And considering that the Hawks for Vortix are kind of slow, it's going to take some time for him to find those. But ultimately, usually the way these play out, and this is part of the reason why Hawks are very powerful on water, is because they can destroy docks very fast and then just deny your opponent from coming back on water. So, honestly, it's very possible that Vortix would just go for relics and put up some land aggression, forcing his opponent to fight on land. But I don't think that's something that's going to work for Beastie. Because from this point on, Vortix has a gigantic advantage when it comes to food income. And keep in mind, you could add some trade ships to go for that trade post. That's an insanely good gold income as well for you. So, oh boy, even a scout coming in from Vortix going for that prelate. I don't think that, even with Ragni's Cathedral, Beastie's going to have an eco advantage here.
Oh, a nice plan by Beastie looks to have been possibly not quite executed well enough. It definitely still alive right now, but And like you said, oh, he's going for the Wololo.
Nope. Nope. Nope.
Oh.
Every time
Obvious.
there's a Vololo, everybody gets hyped. Then you realize that the Vololo just takes too much time. Like, you could have that one scout gallop from one edge of that conversion circle to the other and still not get converted. Vololo is just something that takes too much time nowadays. So, on high level, it's very surprising if someone gets his army converted simply because it just takes too much time. Vortix in the end loses his scout though, and that's pretty painful for him because now he's gonna have no vision on Beastie, and I would be very scared if I was up against a Holy Roman Empire player that does have the land map control and also has the relics, and I have no idea what he's doing.
An interesting thing, Lidakor. So we could say the Wololo does nothing, but the Wololo did serve a kind of a purpose there because it repelled, it caused the scout to run away, and it ended up then dying. So it didn't complete the Wololo, but it played its role in the situation. So there's that. Another relic now coming back for Beastie. All of a sudden, looking relatively interesting. Now, the thing is that their water is now completely owned by Vortix. So there's a huge food eco that he's going to be getting from that water. I don't think Beastie has any intention in getting back involved on the water at all, looking at that situation. So
he's going fast in. That's something I didn't think about up until now. So what Beastie is thinking about is going fast Imperial with the Palace of Swabia and basically cutting into that villager deficit by having that, or that eco deficit by just pumping out villagers. The problem is that even with the Palace of Swabia, your opponent has a very good eco setup, so it's going to take a lot of time until Beastie is able to compensate for that eco deficit, especially considering that the French player is also up to Castle Age, so there is going to be the guild hall working for Vortix. Vortix is going to have a reduced villager training time, and as I said, the only thing that I'm missing for Vortix is going to be trade ships. Something that no one ever does, but they return their value in like 1 or 2 turns. They return their gold value in less than 1 turn on this map, and when you have ultimate water control, that's just such a population-efficient gold income. But instead, Vortix is going to live with the transport ships once again, and this time around, this could be for a greater effect compared to the previous game.
yeah, that was one thing I was also just thinking that, oh, Beastie's like this wall. Is it going to come quick enough? Well, it's not going to come quick enough is the answer. Nowhere near quick enough as these knights are about to land and possibly wreck. But now Beastie must be thinking about once water domination is given up, chance of a royal knights coming in en masse is high, and question is now how much damage is Vortix going to be able to do with these, and the answer is probably quite a lot. They're going to bash straight into these villages and start taking them out.
Exactly.
We do see a number of spears on the field, but nowhere near enough, and probably not enough time to mass them right now, as another village is going to go down there. There was quite a lot of damage done, probably just about as much damage as we expected Vortix to do. That's not going to make Beastie feel much better about it. There are not enough spears on the field right now to deal with the situation. More villagers going to be caught out of position right now. He would at least like to have the spears somewhere there to give out some damage, but all those villagers went down. Yikes.
This is looking very, very grim right now. Also, keep in mind that Holy Roman Empire's spearmen cannot brace, so those Royal Knights will work to great effect. And, well, obviously, Beastie can replenish his villager numbers from that Palace of Swabia quite easily. It is very cheap and it takes basically no time. The most important thing is that currently he has got like no functional economy, so many idols in those town centers. The Aachen Chapel is completely useless when there is no villagers nearby working. And ultimately, behind this one, Vortix is building up a massive fishing eco. The next wave of knights already coming in.
I really like the approach that Beastie took. It's a game of fine margins. He needed to have 5 or 6 more spears out when those knights were coming in. You can see by that wall going up that Beastie knew this was going to happen. Right now, Vortix can afford to lose these knights. He can afford to lose the entire first batch, and basically not going to matter. It's just Vortix is in knight printing mode, and once the French get into the mode, they can print unlimited knights. It's so hard to deal with.
Exactly. Beastie can print unlimited villagers, but obviously, as I said, Spearman unable to brace makes it much more difficult, even if it's now Castle Age Spearman versus Castle Age Knights. But I think at this point, the biggest problem for Beasty will be that he won't even have the food income he needs to make the Palace of Shvabia work, because his berry villagers are getting killed, not a single farm on the horizon, not a single fishing eco working for him, barely any hunt. So at this point, Beasty has 9 villagers working, all of them on food. And behind this one, Vortix is building up a massive fishing eco behind this one, and of course, he's got the guild hall working for him. And as you said, he can just send in wave after wave of knights and pretty much trade army to villagers and just never let Beasty boom up.
Very, very brutal stuff right now. He's still clamoring to try and get back into this game. The fact that he's Imperial means it's not quite over. And Beasty will fancy that he's got some kind of opportunity to get back into this. The longer he can hold with the Palace of Shvabia, the better. But these raids are just very, very demoralizing for him. Surprising, you pointed out earlier, still, this mistake you see in every game on Boulder Bay, not seeing trade ships created, we're seeing once more. Especially because we have a huge impact, but he's instead focused on just sending boat after boat after boat of Royal Knights over to raid, which I mean is also having a very significant effect. Now Beasty being challenged to use a lot of APM as he's splitting these knights all over the map.
I think the only thing that the Vortix could do, other than what he's doing right now, is maybe land with a couple of villagers and make a couple of forward production buildings. Everything else is just a clinical execution. He's got a big force of knights, and you see he's even retreating and using chivalry, so he's using 2 groups of knights now, stretching out the attention of the opponent that has a slow-reacting spearman army. And despite the fact that you had that Palace of Shvabia there for a long time for Beasty, he's still behind by 28 eco. And if you look at the resource income per minute, even with the Ragnis Cathedral for Beasty, that is an advantage for Vortix. And if he gets to Imperial Age, I think he can close this game out.
Now that has to be on Vortix's mind. He's done enough damage. I say that, but he's just dropping off boats after boats after of Royal Knights. That is brutal. I mean, that he has them on a copy paste right now, just flooding into the base every single time he manages to round. Now he's built the archery range, and things are probably about to get quite messy. Waves of units coming in, and the ability to repel these knights is going to diminish very significantly when there's some archers behind them picking off those spears.
Absolutely. Now they are elite spearmen, so they technically have the technology advantage, but they still cannot brace, and as you said, just a couple of archers here will do so much. This forward position is going to be next to impossible for Beasty to clean up. Vortix is just able to harass his opponent left and right, and honestly a forward siege workshop for a couple of trebuchets might make sense, because Beasty has no tools to push this one, so trebuchets would slowly grind down these buildings. Obviously you can repair against them, but that once again costs you villager time, so some sort of siege here could definitely help for Vortix. It's not something that's really needed, and he's got a ton of villagers that are close to stone mine here on the front, so he could even just try to mine stone and get a castle up. That's a very nice surround there by Beasty, though, finally getting some retaliation for all those raids.
Just not sure that Vortix necessarily cares. He's got knights, as many knights as he needs. I don't think he's upset to lose very many. Ones that are surviving have chivalry. And he just is quite sad just watching those spears slowly chase after those knights, desperate to do something, and they just can't do anything. Now we're seeing these archers come out, and even cutting lumber on Beasty's side of the map. Beasty's very much trapped. That wall that he built on Vortix's side of the map now looking extremely redundant with that map control. He's going to have to try to find a way to break out of this, but going to be very hard. I'm surprised Vortix is not looking more to age up, but very strong position.
At this point, I feel like Vortix knows that he's gaining a minimal advantage from aging up. He would be playing knights and archers anyways, and he probably is better off spending all his resources on a push before his opponent can use that Palace of Shvabia. He probably doesn't want to give time for his opponent to use that at all. Obviously, it's Imperial Age Spearmen versus Castle Age Archers only, but the Archers will trade in a cost-effective fashion. A couple of crossbows hitting the field here for Beasty, but ultimately, this army is way better for Vortix. He has a way better economy behind this one. And you pointed this out before, during the day, that we are seeing instances of players having completely untouched economies back at home winning the game, and that is the way it should be. You're untouched back at home, that means that your economy will just allow you to pop out unit after unit. And I think this is the end here for Beasty. Very nice villager count, 69, but only 10 army on the field.
And with that, GG gets called. Vortix makes one more run to a final four of a big event. Congratulations to Vortix. First player today through to the final four of Winter Series 2, having made it to the final four last week as well. I mean, really, really impressive stuff. Beastyqt, a fantastic run to the last 8 of this event. Really nice to see after a few below par by his standards tournament performances. I hope he's relatively happy with that. Took Vortix really, really deep, but
I think he has to be happy.
Yeah.
Because keep in mind that Beasty was on holidays for like 2 weeks, so he's coming in and just now getting himself warmed up again, so he missed like 2 weeks of playing or so. And he really had some out-of-the-box strategies over here. The Holy Roman Empire strategy wasn't that crazy either. I really like his approach. I think the problem is that fishing is just way too powerful to compensate for. So he had an idea, but the problem is that this idea just doesn't have enough time to develop against French. Ultimately, Vortix takes him down, but Beasty coming in with the defeat here. Still, nice play from him overall. And with that, Vortix moves into the semifinals.